Hi everyone. I'm here to talk to you about schizoaffective disorder. Specifically, I want to talk to you about the pros and cons of being on antipsychotic medications. So, in my experience with my disorder, schizoaffective disorder, I found that to take a pill a day is an impossible task to ask of me. There's just too high of a risk for me just deciding to not take my pills or forgetting a pill or being too afraid I already took a pill that day and not being able to be organized enough to keep a pill box. And so, what really changed my life was switching from a pill a day to a shot a month. Now, I know how this sounds. It sounds horrible, but the pros of having my medication administered by a nurse are that I am accountable to someone. My nurse will call me if I don't show up to an appointment. Another pro is that I have not been back to the psych ward since. That was in 2016. So I've gone 8 years without going back to the psych ward thanks to my meds. And if I look back and I take an honest look at my behaviors during my psychoses, I was reckless. I spent money compulsively. I would give away all my belongings to anyone and everyone. I would book a flight on a whim. I did not have the ability to think on the medium to long term. If those examples of lack of inhibition aren't enough, there was once a time I thought I could fly. There are certain behaviors that, while they feel fantastic, I mean, psychosis feels amazing. You feel free, you feel connected and everything, but you're you're so hypersensitive in those states that anything can bring you to a very, very, very dark place very quickly. You're extremely volatile. You can get paranoid in a split second. You can start thinking people are possessed. You can start doubting even the best intentioned people. It's only since being on my medication that I have been stabilized. Now, the initial treatment dosage that they had me on in the beginning, while it might have been useful in stabilizing me in the first few months, was absolutely too high for me to warrant being on for 3.5 years. I was a zombie. I was sleeping 12 to 14 hours a day. I was overeating. I did nothing but lay on my couch and watch TV. And I can't even tell you the content of a single episode of a single movie that I saw during those years because information just wasn't sticking in my brain. So it was very tedious for me to have a voice because the medication was preventing the translation of my thoughts into speech. I was trapped inside my own mind, essentially, at that high dosage of my medication. Now, that doesn't mean I'm against medication. My medication has since been lowered twice, every 3.5 years. The last time we lowered my medication was last July. And I finally feel like I'm on the right dosage of my medication. Since being on this more appropriate dosage, I have started taking much better care of myself. I have started eating right, cutting sugars, carbs, like look up the keto diet and mental health in your search bar, just to see the correlations between high sugar intake, which includes all carbs, and mental health issues. Since quitting sugars, I can now regulate my emotions better. My moods aren't as wild as they used to be before. I feel stable, I feel productive. My apartment is cleaner than it's ever been, and I stay on top of all of my cleaning duties around the house, which I hadn't been able to do for years. And now in a place where I can retain information and express myself in a way that doesn't resemble that of a sloth. Yeah. So I really wanted to talk about medication today because it did come up in the comments on my other video, on my introductory video, where I talk about my story a little bit too. I am all for medication in order to stabilize people. I am all for medication until we've been able to heal enough wounds and past trauma to stand on our own 2 feet. But until you can have a good support system that includes therapist, whichever type of therapist you want, family and friends support, good hygiene, good nutrition, you should not think of getting off the meds completely. But do I believe it's possible to get off the medication? Absolutely. And in my own personal case, I'm not actually there yet. I've been on this dosage of the medication for a year. I plan to be on this dosage for at least another year and a half before lowering it again, and then coming up with a game plan with my psychiatrist in order to wean off the medication from that point. But I'm taking my time with it because I don't want to rush things. I've spent enough years in and out of psych hospitals. I know how deep some of my wounds go. And I need the crutch of the medication for now. I'm not trying to act recklessly and risk another psych hospitalization. So while I am being patient on the medication front, I'm also being proactive in my life and taking care of myself, taking care of my mind by watching my inner thoughts, my inner dialogue. How do I talk to myself? What are my thoughts like? Am I caught in a negative spiral? Caring for the mind, educating myself on personal development, and really taking an interest in learning about wellness and taking a holistic approach that, as I said, includes the mind, but also includes, taking care of the heart and the soul. It took me a long time to actually dare have a sense of spirituality after losing my rocker so many times in delusion. But just because you have schizoaffective disorder does not mean that spirituality is off limits to you. You're allowed to have your beliefs, your faith. The trick is with schizoaffective disorder is not to get lost in making assumptions about things and taking every thought for a reality. I don't negate spirituality for people with schizoaffective disorder. Having faith in being spiritual is not the issue. It comes up a lot when in a state of psychosis. Religion in particular comes up a lot. Symbolism comes up a lot. But once you're stabilized and you feel ready to explore your spirituality, it's important to find the right mentors. We all have our faith, our beliefs. My grandmother passed away not long ago, and it's strange, but I know she's with me. I know she's all around me. I feel her energy. That's part of my faith. That's one of my beliefs. The difference between being spiritual and being in a state of psychosis is that when you're spiritual, you are connected to reality. Whereas when you're in a state of psychosis, you're disconnected from reality. And then, of course, last but not least, after mind, heart, soul, we gotta take care of our vessel. And as I said earlier, cutting out sugars, carbs, smoothies, all these things that you think are healthy for you, and finding a ketogenic diet that works for you is life-changing. Not just from a physical standpoint, but also from a mental health standpoint. And I think that's the key here. Studies have shown that a ketogenic diet can really work wonders for people with mental health issues. And I'm wondering if my addiction to carbs and sugars and smoothies and all pasta, pizza, bread, I'm wondering at this point in time, how big of a role did sugar actually have in the development of my disorder? I was never good at regulating my emotions. I was good at bottling them up for a long time. But at this point in time, today, thanks to a radical nutrition change, I feel so much better. Now, if you are going to change your nutrition, I recommend that at the very least you research the kind of diet that you need. I recommend that you tell your psychiatrist about it so that they can do the proper blood work every 6 months to make sure that you don't have any deficiencies, either with your potassium levels or magnesium levels, and do things safely and reach out to professionals. And if you don't have access to professional help, there are certain very good Instagram accounts that you can follow, and look into it. Get interested. Get curious. Do your research. Do things in a well thought out way. And I think that's also one of the keys to really recovering from the suffering of schizoaffective disorder. And that's, self-care. Do the opposite of what your disorder is telling you that you're capable of. You're allowed to dream. You're allowed to believe in yourself. And one thing my therapist told me that I never forgot was, you matter. Not more than anyone else, but not less either. You matter. And I know there's a purpose for you being here. And I know there's a reason for you to keep going in this life. So I hope if you got anything from this second video of mine, it's that there's hope for schizos like us. It is possible to have a good quality of life. It is possible to work. It is possible to regulate your emotions and to not feel those down, 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 down depressive moments, and not get lost and break from reality again. And my path has been to get on my medication and slowly wean off it. It might not be your path, whatever you choose to do. I wish you the best of luck. I'm just sharing my experience, and it took a long time to get here, but it's been worth the ride. And it started with getting on my meds. So, hope this helps. And I will talk to you soon. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to write me in the comments. And who knows, maybe I'll make a little video to answer your question. I will, at the very least, try to respond in the comments. Yeah. Hope you have a good day. Love to all.